Okay, in this advanced video, we're going to talk about how to scale things up and build an empire. Now, by this stage, you've probably created your first store and you're kind of happy with it, or maybe you want to make some improvements to it. But when you want to scale up, you can either do two things. You can add more products or you can create more properties. Now, think about this like say for example, back when Manhattan was just flat plains in New York. Again, you start creating the first building, next building goes up, next building goes up, and then you end up with, well, Manhattan today. It's all about creating those presences, that real estate, and basically securing that land. And that's what you're doing with your e-commerce stores. You're sticking your foot in the ground and anchoring yourself into an empire. So when you've got your first site built and you're happy with it, what we're going to do is clone it. So I'm going to show you, I'm including a very special plugin called IMSC Site Cloner. I'm going to give you this for free. And it allows you to basically take your entire store, everything that you've created, and create an exact clone so that you can redeploy. We're also going to look at, okay, once you've got your empire, you want to make them manageable. If you had 100 sites, 100 e-commerce stores over a period of time, hey, you've got to keep everything up to date. You've got to keep everything manageable. So we're going to show you a way to do that as well. So what we're going to do first of all is create a clone of our website. So we've got over here the zombies one. We also have the power tools on here, and you can see a new menu item. Again, this is downloadable below. This is IMSC Site Cloner. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to come over here. I'm trying to decide which one we're going to clone first of all. Let's clone the zombies one because we've been working on that one more than anything else. And we're going to come over here and click packages. Now, depending on your host, whether you've got a shared host or what have you, maybe your site is a little big, okay? So what I like to do is I like to create a clone of an existing one, redeploy it, and then strip all of the products out of it. The reason I do that is if I have got a base setup that I'm really happy with, when you've got a lot of products and a lot of media, that could be huge, okay? So you need to make sure that you've removed all the excess media and everything else. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we'll create the base clone. So I'm going to click Create New, and then I'm just going to call it, well, let's just call it Base Clone, or Base Clone AA for A's on authority, and then you can enable any filters you may want to. For example, if there's certain paths or something you want to remove, no problem. You can also set some presets on your installer if you want to, but we'll just do it as standard. We're not even going to worry about it because the base settings will do it for the most part. So now we click next, and what happens is our system will now scan your site, see how big it's going to be, do an approximation of, well, this is how many files you've got, this is going to be huge. And you can see, for me, with what we've done, this is a massive site, but you can see it's going to be about 1 gigabyte. So you can click on any one of these warnings. It'll say, hey, this might trigger a problem. Again, because we have a massive site and I've got so much stuff in here, it's amazing. So it'll also tell you about any invalid paths that might be a problem. For example, my cache. I have a cache of lots and lots of things. That might be a problem. And it'll also tell you about any large files that may exist. You can click there and let's have a look. Okay, so we've got a lot of big files in here, including 200 megabytes, which are in a clone here. So what I can do is I can quickly go in here and see if I can clear. For example, I can go into cPanel and remove some of those. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment and see if we can make things a little smaller for us. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the size down to 473 megabytes. That's removing the clone and the cache files, and you can see that's really, really dramatically reduced things. And all I did was remove the cache and remove the backup files. So if you want to rescan and retest, you just click this rescan button down here. And again, we'll just rerun the scanner one more time just to show you. Again, it goes through and tells you about any further warnings. I'm not worried about those particular files. Total size, it's still big, but I'm on a pretty good server. And any invalid names, okay, no known issues, we're good. Those problems were solved. So that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is, the other thing is you can change the build mode. You can go into the settings and modify things around and, make changes as you see fit. So if you're on a shared server, you might want to be on PHP slow. And again, let me just come back over here real quick and show you these settings. So again, you can also set whether you want to use PHP and query limit sizing, archive flushing and all that kind of stuff. You can come over to the tools as well if you want to kind of also make sure you run the diagnostics, make sure everything's cool. It just checks your site, make sure everything is set up, what your server settings are and all the kind of cool things. And if you want to run a cleanup, if you've run a few, for example, backups and things like that, you can clear the build cache and stuff like that. Again, these are just things that help you reduce the size of what you're doing before you start actually creating your package. So I'm just going to go back to packages real quick now that I've shown you that. And again, we're just going to go create that new package one more time. Base clone, next. Again, we'll just see if that actually affected our actual build size, which shouldn't be too bad. As I say, didn't really make much difference because I'd already cleared the cache, I guess, on for the build cache, but let's go actually build the package. Now, this is going to take a few moments. It's going to actually back up your entire database. It's going to create a zip file of your entire website, and it's going to give you an installer and a zip file. So we'll let that run for a few moments, and then we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so we are complete. It took 95 seconds to create that archive. You can see it's 398 megabytes. That's literally a zip of everything. And we've got the installer. So I'm going to download the installer, download the archive, and those are going to come down to my system. And while that's downloading, let's go over to the site we're going to deploy it to. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create just a demo site. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to put it in a subfolder. I'm not actually going to create an entire site, but we'll just put it in a subfolder. And what we're going to do here is we are going to create a new folder, and we'll just call this clone or cloned. And that's where we're going to deploy this, just for the sake of demonstration. And then we're going to upload 2 files. I'm going to do this all through File Manager. Don't even need FTP at this stage. So we're going to come over here and we'll have 2 files. There's our clone and then our installer. So I'm just going to open that. That's kind of big file, so I'm just going to do all this way. Open, and that's fine. You can see that's going up right now. And then what we'll do over here is reload. And I'm going to rename that so it doesn't have the number 1 on the end because I had multiple installers in that file. That's fine. Okay, didn't. Okay, there we go. Now, while that is uploading over here, it's going to take a few moments. We need to create a database. So I'm going to come over to databases here and create a new database. So we're going to create a database called cloned. And we're going to create a user as well. Now, obviously, you would want to name it for whatever you're actually creating. I'm just doing this for demo purposes here. And we'll create one called cloned with a password. I'm just going to make something simple. You really should not do something simple. Again, this is just purely for demonstration purposes. Okay. And then I'm going to add the user to the database. So come down here, cloned. Now, you could show an outsourcer how to do this if you want to, and just tell them, hey, create me a store based around this. Create me a store based around this. And you can hire people from Odesk, Freelancer, and pay them $50 a site for setup. No problem. You could have them do all of that in the background and literally build up an empire. But like I say, we're going to show you how to manage many sites in at the end of this video. So we're going to come over here. We've got everything should be uploaded by now. Perfect. Okay. So we'll come over here, reload that, and we've got the installer and our zip file. This is what IMSC Site Cloner created for you. So now we're going to come over here, and let's just go to dogsdaymagazine.com/cloned. You can see the 2 files. Let's run the installer. And if you had or have used our site cloner, you can see this is very similar because our system basically automates a lot of this part of it, except you're using one of our clones, not your own clone. So we'll just pop that in there. Those are the two things, and our password, test connection, make sure everything's cool, run deployment. Again, you want to make sure you're using it in the right place with the right things, not wiping over your existing sites. Make sure you've got backups of everything. All the other kind of disclaimers that are common sense here will be inserted, and you will have confirmation before you execute. But again, this is now unzipping and installing the clone. And remember, this includes everything from the database, so all your activation codes for, say, for example, Profit Builder, Pro, if you're using that, any of your other IMSE plugins, they will actually redeploy based on this current domain, and the same with Azon Authority. So again, it just speeds up the actual redeployment process and everything else. So this is going to take a few moments to set up. So I'm going to step away for a second and let this run its thing, because it's got to unzip all those files, put them in place, make sure everything's cool. Okay, so everything's ready here. All we have to do now is, we'll just call this clone for the sake of, or we'll call it base clone. And if we want to, a new admin account. One thing I do suggest, guys, is that you set different admin accounts and passwords for each site, and then if you want to remember them all, use something like LastPass or OnePass to memorize them all. So I'm just going to leave them as it is for now, and there are advanced options, but you don't need to do any of that. You honestly just set it up, run the update. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go through your entire database, swapping out any URLs and everything else that you've put in place. So that makes things easier. I'm going to let that run for just a moment while that goes through that next step, and then we're ready to actually kind of finalize. Okay, so we're all done. Now all we have to do is, first of all, resave the permalinks. If you see any warnings about, this kind of stuff, don't worry about it, not a big deal. You can check the install report and it'll say, okay, update errors, and it'll just say, okay, is there a few kind of just wee things that may be missing? Hey, unsorted. No problem, don't worry about it, like I said. But we do need to save the permalinks and do a couple little cleanups. So okay, I'm just going to log in with the username and password from the original files or the original site. Hopefully that'll take just a moment. It's logging in now. And okay, we'll come over here, save the permalinks. You can see everything is in here, everything is active. And what we're going to do is also remove all the files. It'll say it'll remove all the base installer files, but it does say that it's recommended you remove the archive files. We'll go do that too. In fact, if we reload this here, you'll see everything is in place. We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's see, error log, PHP, all those things. We don't need any of those. That's cool. And those are just because that was a test site. A lot of those things aren't needed, so that's cool. The other thing we need to do now is just kind of go through things. What we're going to do is I'm going to go to PB theme options, and I'm going to save. You see it's got everything in place here. It's even remembered all my settings for the logos and things like that. I'm not going to worry about that right now, because right now, yes, it is all zombified. In fact, if we go over to the main site, you'll see that we have the zombie safe house perfectly cloned and everything else. Funnily enough, it's even remembered my in-store items from some of my tests. But you can see that's all perfectly deployed. All we've got to do now, guys, is strip out the stuff we don't need. So, for example, all your saved searches, you've got to remove all your campaigns. You can see we've got all those. If I start that going. Now, the cool thing is when you start removing your campaigns, you can also tell it to actually remove all the products as well. So we can go ahead and do that. And this is where you get the stripped down setup and everything else. But you can see that's how quickly you can clone everything. Now, it's going to take a while. Remember, this is also a shared server. This is a HostGator server, but it's now removing all those items and everything else. Now, I'm just going to let it run for a few moments. But what I am going to do is, while that is running over here, I'm now going to show you how you can manage all of these sites at once. So we're going to come back to the dashboard here, and you can see I've got two sites set up, the Power Tools one here, the zombie one, and eventually we'll have this one as well. So while that's running here, we're actually going to go and use another service that I use called Manage WP. Now what this does is this allows you to control multiple sites. And you can imagine if you've got 3, 4, maybe 5 stores, that's manageable. You can go in there, check for updates, make sure everything's cool. When you're dealing with 10, 20 or 100 stores, that becomes a major pain in the ass. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put all of these stores under one controller so we can easily manage them. Now to do that, I should also say this is really cheap. If you check the plans, you've got all sorts of different options where you can actually schedule backups, put them on S3 and everything else. Google Analytics integration. You can do also some SEO analysis, search engine ranking trackers, uptime monitoring. Again, there's different levels and you can scale. Okay, I need 10 sites, 15 sites, 20 sites. And the more the more sites you run, the cheaper it becomes per website. But again, you can scale up as you see fit. So for example, 10 sites on the professional plan costs me $21 a month. If that saves me an hour, 2 hours, or 5 hours a month, that is a no-brainer. So again, I'll include a link to this below. No affiliate link or anything else like this, but I think this is really, really cool. So I've got a demo account set over here, and you can see I haven't got any websites added yet. So what we're going to do first of all, this is the easiest way to do it, is come to plugins and add new. And this is really cool. If you do this before you clone your site, by the way, it'll copy the plugin. All you have to do is deactivate the plugin and then reactivate it. I'll show you that in a moment. But we're going to type in here Manage WP Worker. And that's the one we're going to search the database for. That's what you want, this big kind of mountain one. Install that. I'm going to do the same over here. And this is the controller. Basically, it talks from their website to your system. So I'm going to activate that there. I'm also going to activate that and install that over here. And then what you can do is you can just tell the system, it'll say, please add your site to Manage WP, or deactivate this worker plugin, because you don't want it running without it being added. So we'll just add both of these. Okay, I want to make sure the plugins are both activated and installed. Okay, cool. Now we've got 2 sites, the Demos Zombie and the Demos Power Tools. So we'll come over to our dashboard, click on Add Website, and it says, no, I've already installed the plugin and activated it. So add, and it'll go. Now this system will talk to our site. Now here's the cool thing. There is no admin passwords or anything else you can, if you're not confident about it for whatever reason, Manage WP does not have admin control over your website. They just have permission that you've given them to do some of the stuff that they want to do. But we want to add another website, and we'll do the same again for the Power Tools one. So I'm just going to grab this and come over here. Same again. No, I've already installed the plugin. Now, if you do it the other way, it does require admin username and password, but I prefer not to do that. But there we go. Now, again, this also adds, you can see we've got the 2 here. And you know what? Let's add in this one as well. Now, that way we got 3. So I'll just add that one as well. And I'm actually just going to copy this. And then let's just do Manage Worker. So while that's searching for that, I'll just prep the addition of this one. And you can see how quickly you can put things in control. Let me close this because we actually don't need this now. And there we go, install that. Now I'm putting 3 sites under direct control. And the cool thing is you can use Manage WP to update plugins, update themes, optimize your databases, track stats. There's some very cool stuff. So okay, let's add that. And should just take a few moments. Close. Okay. Now we'll refresh the dashboard. Actually, you click the sync dashboard, and what happens is the system will now go to each website and say, hey, do you have anything that needs to be done? For example, we got one plugin update on which site? Let's see. Azon Authority Power Tools. It's got an update due, so we can actually just click update and it'll go through each site in turn saying, okay, where do we need to make updates? You can also clean overhead. See, okay, there we go. On that one, because I haven't worked on that one for a few days, found that and it updated it. Maybe there's some overhead. If you click here, it'll show you how much database stuff needs optimizing. We've got about 6 megabytes here. So, okay, no problem. Clean everything and it'll go through and say, okay, syncing and cleaning up, syncing and cleaning up. Keeps everything optimized. So you can also see what's going on your websites. You can check each individual one. You can see as a whole. You can see any backup tasks, adding backups of your website. A good thing to do, by the way. You can check to see, you can actually just log into any one of your sites, just clicking, and boom, go to the dashboard. And actually, you can open the site admin right here, and what happens is all from this one controller, it'll actually load your WP admin right in here, and you can go through and do any of your tasks and everything else. You can add a new post, install a plugin or a theme on here, backup now. You can use their cloner. I'll be quite honest, I'm not happy with their cloner. IMSC Site Cloner seems to do a better job. You can check any server information about this particular box. It tells you all the other kind of cool stuff on there. It'll check any other options, or you can remove this site from your archive. Let me go back to the home. You can also, again, all the options are quickly under here. You can monitor web analytics, uptime monitoring. I've got the pro version, SEO and keyword ranking. So there's a few little things in here. But again, that just helps you check whatever else is going on. I'm just going to do, do a security check. Let's do a security check on, say, the cloned one. And it'll go through there, seeing if there's any problems. We've got WordFence enabled. We've got a lot of security with Cloudflare and everything else. But again, you can do checks if you want to. I'm not going to let that run. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But again, that's just one master control panel that allows you to manage your empire and scale up as you see fit. And if you wanted to, you can create groups. So for example, I could create a group and add each one to its own group. So for example, I could have a mix of power tools, or I could have equipment-based groups, impulse buy groups, narrow niche geek ones. I could have my Star Wars stores, my zombie stores, my Star Trek stores, whatever I've got going on. I'm just making that up. But you get the idea. That does allow you to create a massive manager of a massive empire. And again, if you show outsourcers how to clone, how to deploy, how to add it to your managed WP, and how to administer your account, you can sit back, put your feet up, drink a Mai Tai, and just crush Amazon. So there you go, guys. That is how you scale up. That is how you create an empire. And that is how you can have a lot of fun with everything you've got going on. All you got to do is put it in place, start scaling up, start ramping up your profits, and start kicking ass. So there you go, guys. That's it for the advanced videos. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you've enjoyed everything we put together in this course. I know I've really enjoyed putting this all together for you and sharing all this knowledge with you. Now it's up to you to go put it into practice. Take care.